Welcome back to the video on the 1986 Honda Fourtrax 350. As you guys know, we picked up this ATV for 250 bucks up in Appleton. The guy that sold it to me said he got it on trade and didn't really want to mess with it. And I don't blame him because this thing is kind of a pile of junk. And the guy before him, he said get it on trade and he didn't really mess with it either. So I don't really know the history behind this thing. All I know that it was painted black. And it's kind of suspicious. Kind of looks like it was stolen at one point. We did a VIN check on it and it came out clear, but it's still kind of weird that somebody would paint over the nice red plastics with black. Just very, very strange. But anyway, we got it home last video and we actually ended up getting the solenoid connected up. All the wires were cut where the solenoid was, so we got that to work. We got electric start to work, and then we actually got this thing to fire up. But it had a terrible knocking sound. So we ended up adjusting the valves. That didn't help at all. We cleaned up the carburetor. That didn't help the knocking sound, obviously. And we got to the point where it wouldn't even start up anymore. So we did a compression test, and this thing came back with 0 compression. So I'm thinking that maybe the cam chain came loose, and that was the knocking sound. And then the timing became off, and then the piston hit one of the valves, bent it, and now we've got low compression. That's kind of my theory on the whole thing, because it did kind of sound like either a piston slap or a rod knock or that cam chain coming loose. We will find out today. We're going to start tearing into this thing, and we'll see what went wrong with this thing, and then rebuild it. So stay tuned. It should be very interesting to see what we find. First thing we're going to do is get the valve cover off. You can see there's a bunch of different bolts up here. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 bolts we've got to take off to get this valve cover off. And right away we'll be able to tell if that timing chain is loose and kind of what happened. Get this bracket off first. Oops, I'm thinking. There we go. Pretty loose. Alright, we got all the bolts off of here. Let's see if we can get this off now. Looks like it's got a gasket maker. Moment of truth here. Let's see what's going on. Rockers all look good. Looks like she look really good. Cam chain's a little loose, but not horrible. Huh. You can see it's a little bit loose. It's really not that loose though. I don't know if that would be enough to skip time. We will quick spin this over top to center. See if this thing is timed up properly here. Alright, right there. See if the cam looks like maybe it skipped time. Alright, looking at the cam, you can see it's really far off. There should be a mark on the side over here. You can see there's a mark right there, but there should be one over here on this side as well, and then one at the top. And you can see there's only one right there, and it's pointed up. And we're at top at center right now, so that is way off. That cam must have skipped, or the chain must have skipped, and that cam is just completely off. So I think that's why it's got low compression. And I think maybe a valve bent. Valve's pushed down though. Huh. I don't know. Very interesting. We are going to get the tensioner out. Then we're going to set this thing back to the correct time and then try a compression test again just to make sure. So the tensioner must have been messed with at one point because the screw that caps off the little adjuster spring tensioner thing was out of it. And you can see the gasket maker on it as well. So this thing was like rebuilt at one point, for sure. Tensioner out. Nothing wrong with the tensioner, doesn't feel like. Feels like it's all the way out though. Let's just see if it can go out any further. Yeah, it's all the way out. So I think maybe the tensioner was just all the way out and the cam chain was just a little bit loose. Alright, we've got the cam back in, all tightened up and everything. The cam chain is pretty loose. You can see. So either way, we're going to have to replace that timing chain. I just want to see if we have compression now. Let's see here. Alright, let's see, throttle open. Looks like we've got a bent valve. It did not raise compression at all. So, alright, let's continue the teardown. Alright, we got the pipe off of here, and then we got the bolts out right here. There's two right here, 12 millimeters, and then 14 millimeter acorn nuts on there. So, I think the head can come off now. This will be interesting. I think. It's coming now. Alright. rubbing in the pipe right there. Getting stuck on something. Alright, piston doesn't look too bad down in there. Cylinder wall doesn't feel too scratched up or anything. From what I can see right now. Alright, let's go check out the valves here. So we think there's an intake valve that's... Oh yeah, look at right. I think that one's open a little bit. This one right here. Let's see if they were leaking in there. Oh yeah, you can see some signs of leaking. And this one right here. Yep, so that's the one. Brake cleaner down here. Yeah, it instantly goes through. Yeah, it's pooling. You can see it pool in there. You can really see the gap right there. I'm not sure if that one's bent. It doesn't look like it. Looks like just this one, which is kind of weird that both of them aren't bent. It's just the one. Let's get the cylinder off next and check that rod, because the knocking was coming from somewhere. Either the cam chain was really loose, which it was pretty loose, or it's rod knock. I have a feeling it's rod knock. Cylinder has these two 8mm bolts. Kind of hard to get to. Try to get these out. One right here as well. Alright, once those are out, we can get the cylinder off and check the rod play. I have a feeling it's bad. Go. Alright, looking at the piston doesn't look too bad. There's actually one ring that's stuck at the top. You can see that top ring is stuck right back here. But otherwise it doesn't look too bad. I can't tell with the crank yet if that rod is good or not. It feels like it is. I'm gonna get the piston off and then we'll check that that rod bearing out. But so far, it seems pretty decent. Alright, we got the piston off, and the rod actually has no up and down play. Very small side to side. So that rod held up. That's awesome. So I'm thinking what happened was the timing chain was just really loose. And it skipped time, then bent that valve. So we'll get a new timing chain for it, a new valve. We'll check all the valves and make sure they're all good to go. And then gotta check underneath here for the kickstart mechanism. I don't know why that's broken. You can see the stuck ring right there. But otherwise, there's not a ton of blow-by or anything. Really doesn't look that bad. I can't tell where a valve hit the piston either, which is weird. So that piston's definitely reusable. Probably get some new rings for it. Call it a day. Because I only spent 250 bucks on this whole four-wheeler. I don't want to put much more money into it. A quick hone out the cylinder. It's really not that bad. Get a new intake valve, new cam chain. I think we're gonna be good to go. First things first, we gotta get the oil drained out of here. There's a 14mm bolt underneath here. It needs to come out. Here's the bolt. That is some black oil. Let that drain for a little bit. Come back and we'll check if there's any metal chunks in there. Alright, let's take a look at the filter next. See what that looks like. Oop. No metal chunks or anything, so that's a good sign. That's a very good sign. Alright, I think all the bolts are off. Let's see if the cover can come off of here. It's coming. I see something snapped. So this thing came on. Clutch looks great. So we gotta take this thing off to get to the timing chain, clutch off, oil pump off. Doesn't look too bad. I don't know why the kickstart wasn't working. We'll have to check that out. Right, so I figured out why the starter wasn't working. So you can see it spinning over. Let's see, gotta get a better angle on here. Alright, so watch it spin. So it's cranking over, then it just slips like that. See this? This is just slipping. I think that's supposed to catch like that. It's like the one-way bearing where it's not supposed to spin this way, yet it does. See that? Alright, so we're going to order up some parts. I checked all the valves again, and only one leaks, one intake valve leaks, so not too big of a deal. We're going to order up the valve, the rings, gasket kit, oh, and then a timing chain. Right, a couple parts came in. We've got the one-way bearing for the clutch, timing chain, gasket cover for this side over here. We're still waiting on the gasket kit for the top end, so let's work on this side first. Gotta take off all this stuff to get to the timing chain and to the one-way bearing. The one-way bearing's in here somewhere. We'll have to look for it, but let's get that off. Alright, finally got that nut off. I had all my breaker bars out trying to get that thing off, and it turns out that was left-hand thread, so that was fun. Let's see. Alright, that clutch is coming off. Open this guy up here. And there is the one-way bearing right there. So, we'll get that replaced real quick. So that's the bad one. The new one is right here. Not sure if it matters which way it goes on. Outside. Alright, it says outside right there. I'm guessing outside means when you put it on, it's to the outside, right? Guessing. Alright, I'll put this back in here. And we'll just see if it works. Look at that. Only goes one way. That's what we want. This one was toast. Alright, that's replaced. Let's go on and try to get that timing chain out of there. Alright, that was normal threaded on there. Alright, get the clutch off of here. Alright. Oh, this whole thing can come out. We might have to take off the oil pump. It's just 10 millimeters here holding it on. Come right out. That comes right out too. Cam chain can come out. Takes quite a bit to get to the cam chain, but we got a brand new one right here. DID. This thing was like 60 bucks. Not super cheap. Get that installed. The other one was stretched pretty good. Alright, we got the cover on, and check this out. Hold the cam chain, take it over. Very smooth, grabs every time. So we fixed that. Let's get the gaskets on. The gasket kit finally came. Let's get the base gasket on, and then start rebuilding this top end. Alright, we just gotta hone the cylinder out quick. Got some oil in there. This isn't gonna take too much. Alright, let's check her out. That should be good. Alright, we're going to try to get the cylinder on next. Alright, for the head, this valve was bent, so we got a new intake valve here. This was pretty cheap, I think it was like 20 bucks. So we're gonna lap that in, get that old one out. Using the valve compressor here. We'll go ahead and replace the valve seal too. Alright, here's the bent valve. Let's stick it in the drill, see how bent it was. You can see just slightly bent. Compared to the new one. Alright, we'll lap this one in. Alright, just set the timing on this thing. You can see the T in there. The line. Right there. And then on the cam, you can see there's a line right there. Right there. And one right there. Parallel with the surface of the head. And then the lobes on the cam are pointing down, you can see, not pointing up. So where it tapped its center right there, we're going to get the cam cover on, and then this thing's all ready to go. We just have to get that choke mechanism out of the carburetor. Valves are set to 0.003 inches, both of them intake and exhaust. And then we tried to get the choke out of the carburetor with an easy out, but it was not working. So I spent about 30 minutes on that and I couldn't get it, so I decided not to put in the video. But now we have to do the oil change. I think this thing takes about 2.3 quarts if I remember correctly. So let's get the oil change done and then we'll attempt the first start on it. Alright, this thing takes about 2.43 quarts of oil. We'll test it, but right around 2.5 quarts. Make sure there's enough oil in there. And we're right up to the top line. So we are perfect there. All right, everything is perfect. Good to go. We've got oil in it, gas in it. Let's see if she starts up. There we go. Sounds pretty good. Alright, no knocking, but just a little bit of smoking. I didn't replace the valve seal, so I wonder if that's what's causing it. And I ended up not getting rings either because I couldn't find any. So yeah, it's gonna be smoky a little bit until those rings seat. Yeah, it runs good, no knocking at all, which is what we were going after. So we're gonna get everything back on it and then attempt to start this thing again. And we'll probably start with the kickstart as well, because that's fixed. So, awesome. Alright, this is it all complete. We got the front rack on, the plastics on, the seat on. Missing the plastic right there. Here's the other side. So I mean, it's not too bad. We're just gonna take black spray paint and just go crazy with it. Using some roll bar and chassis paint here. Doesn't pay to strip it off because it's not worth it. It's way too rough a shape. Hey, that side looks pretty good. Alright, all painted up. This is definitely a beater ATV. Thing is pretty rough. Let's see if she moves. Hopefully she does. moving. I'm so surprised. Did not think it was gonna move. Can't believe this thing's running. That took a miracle. Back brake works too. Let's see if the lights work. Oh yeah. That light works. Does the brake light work? Oh yeah. Those are working. Pretty dim, but they're working. Wow. Cannot believe that thing runs. She was in rough shape, still is, but running pretty good. Shifts through all the gears. Not bad. Alright, so surprisingly this thing moves. Reverse works. So I must have put the cover back on correctly over here. So everything is working on this thing, and there's no leaking at all. So this thing is good to go. It does smoke a little bit because I had to use the old rings. I couldn't find any new ones. All I could find were the Wiseco rings, but you'd have to buy a brand new piston for like 160 bucks. So I'm like, it's not worth it for this one. So I just put the old rings in, figuring it would maybe smoke, maybe not, and it does, unfortunately, but you know, it runs and drives good, so I'm not going to mess with it anymore. It is a beater quad for sure. Now I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. Probably just keep it and use it for a spare, just to beat around on, because I don't know, it's pretty rough. But we got it going, which I did not think was possible. So pretty happy with that, and it actually runs really good. Goes through all the gears smoothly. Doesn't tick, no knocking. So I'd say that was a pretty big success. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for the next video. And until next time, we are out.